I'm so excited that you took the time to join us on the next episode of Beyond the Culture. This is the show where we embrace change and challenge cultural norms and ideals. I'm your host, Dr. David Walker. So how you doing, Quinn?
I am awesome and amazing.
Good, good. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show today. And please let me give you your official introduction. Today on the show, I have Quinn Conyers. Quinn Conyers trains Black women in business how to turn virtual conversations into cash. Now, I know every Black woman heard that right there. She teaches Black women in business how to turn virtual conversations into cash so they can profit from public speaking on and offline. Quinn is an HBCU grad. She graduated from Howard University, and she is the author of two books, Speak Black Woman or Speak Black Women, How Women in Business Can Turn Conversations into Cash. And then she's also author of Speak Up, The Ultimate Guide to Dominate in the Speaking Industry. So I'm super excited to have on the show today on Beyond the Culture, my guest, Quinn Conyers. Quinn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me to be a guest.
And we are so excited to have you, and we're going to have an outstanding conversation today. Now, as you know, March is it's Women's History Month, and we've been celebrating women all month. And of course, I'm not calling it Women's History Month. I'm calling it Women's Her Story Month.
Love it.
Because it's her story, and I want her to get all the credit. But we've been honoring women, and just a few names that I've been calling, like, the Harriet Tubmans, the Ida B. Wells, women in our history, Maya Angelou, Diane Nash, Ella Baker, Angela Davis, Nikki Giovanni, Barbara Jordan. Those are some of our legendary women in the struggle. And then, of course, there's some great names that are current, that are doing a great job, like the Tamika Mallorys, the Alicia Garza, and the Ava DuVernays. So Black women and women in general have impacted our society in a great way. And because we're in this month of celebration, I want to ask you, just as a Black woman and a woman in general, just talk to us just a little bit about how women are impacting our society today, and what is your opinion about it?
I wish I could give you an answer about all women, but I'm not going to do that. It's Women's History Month, and I'm Black 365 days out of the year. So I'm going to give you the perspective of not just women, but how Black women, I feel like, are making history and making their mark on the world. And I think that we're living in a truly blessed time period. And I feel like right now our voice is our secret weapon. And there was a time that a lot of women were being told, we're supposed to be seen, but not heard. Don't speak unless spoken to, or a woman's role belonged in the kitchen. Yes. And now I feel like we are in a society, in a world where women are encouraged to not only use their voice, but to explore careers and passions that might only belong to men at one time. So I'm just grateful to be living in 2021. I'm grateful that so many women are stepping up to the plate. They are shattering misconceptions. They are, really pushing the gender role on jobs and occupations and entrepreneurship. So it's great to see. It's great that so many women that you've mentioned have paved the way for me to stand here. But more importantly, I just think that there are so many ways that we can reach an audience that women in the past just weren't privy to. I mean, years ago, there wasn't no social media, there was no Clubhouse, there was no Facebook. And now, like, we literally can leave our imprint on the world from the comfort of our own home. So it's good to be a woman. It's good to be a Black woman, but it's also good that we can speak in a way that we don't have to feel silenced or muzzled.
You said two things that just really stood out to me. One time, women were to be seen and not heard. Oh my goodness, that is so powerful. And then you followed it up by saying that a woman's voice is her power. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why it stands out to me is because how do you have the power if your voice is silent?
Mm.
just stand over in the corner, don't talk, don't have anything to say. And it is so wonderful that we are in a new era of time
Mm-hmm.
where women, as you say, Black women can stand up and speak for their own issues, have their voice to be heard. And you are one of those who are on the list of a woman who is speaking, allowing her voice to be heard. And so let me ask you this question. Where did the speaking industry begin for you? Because you're a public speaker. So where did
Mm-hmm.
that begin for you?
It started in college, believe it or not. So before I went to Howard University, that's where I got my master's. I went to Westchester University for undergrad. And I, like everybody else, was a freshman, first year student. And literally, one of our general education requirements was an intro to public speaking class. Everybody was petrified.
Mm,
I was the only one, like, okay, let's do it. So I realized early that one of the greatest fear of all Americans, I didn't fear.
okay.
So I wasn't like, oh my God, I love it. But I mean, people were hyperventilating. They were skipping class. Like it was a real thing. Whereas I took intro to public speaking, and then I took public speaking, and then I took advanced public speaking, and then I took argument and debate. Then I took all these speech classes. And afterwards, like, I think I'm a communications major. Like it just kind of happened that way. But that was like my very early kind of realizing that, like, not only did I was interested,
Okay.
um my professors would tell me that I was good at it, that they tried to get me on the argument and debate team. That was just too much research for me. I was like, I just like to talk. You
Hmm.
want me to look at books and stuff? I don't have time for that. Right. So I think that was like the beginning. And then one of the things that really kind of like it made me full was I went to a PWI, predominantly white institution for undergrad, and I was a resident assistant. I was president of the multicultural recruitment team. I was a peer mentor for the Office of Multicultural Affairs. I was a very much a student leader. All those positions required me to speak, and every time somebody was coming, it's like speak on behalf of the RA, speak on behalf of this. So that I was kind of put into that position. But when it was time to graduate, we had a ceremony called Kente. This is with African drums. We graduated on Friday, and then we graduated again on Saturday with all our class. And I asked to speak at graduation. And literally, I remember them telling me, well, Quinn, you know that the president of the Black Student Union speaks. But Marissa, who was there in the room with me, was like, oh no, Quinn's been very much involved on campus. We can both speak. And that's the first time I gave, like, I guess a keynote. I didn't know what a keynote was, in front of about 2,000 people. And I was a senior in college. And that's when I was just like, I like the way I felt when I delivered the presentation, but I love the way that felt afterwards when parents and other students were like, you really made me feel good about graduating college. So that was like the beginning. And then once I got to Howard, it was like somebody asked me, well, how much do you charge? I was like, oh, I can get paid for this. And then I was just like, oh, that was a whole nother ball game. And then I went down this whole public speaking path.
So obviously you've enjoyed, public speaking, and I'm going to talk about, you may have shifted a little bit from the bit, because I think primarily you were just doing it as a, like you say, a keynote, doing a public speaking, right? That's where you moved to after you left college and grad school. Would you say that?
So no, I mean, I was doing it here and there. I was getting paid, here and there, but I still didn't look at it as a profession. I just was
Okay.
like, I'm speaking. I looked at it maybe like a side hustle before it became, but I wasn't really trying to make money. I just was trying to serve. I just knew that I had something to say. And then as I began to do more of it, I was like, no, people are out here. This is their business. This is their profession. This is how they feed their family. And that's when I began to explore public speaking, as a profession, and not just like something that I like to do and I was good at. So beyond the talent, I looked at the business. I began to look at the business side, and that was a whole nother animal.
So as I introduced you, in the bio it says you train women who are in business how to turn
Mm-hmm.
conversations into cash so that they can profit whether they're on stage or not. Um, where did the idea come from, helping women to turn their conversations into cash?
Yeah, well, a lot of women in business, I began to realize that they would raise their hand and say, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be a business owner. And they didn't understand that with that title also came spokesperson. So they're like, I want to be in business, I want to make money, but they didn't really embrace the whole idea of speaking.
Okay.
And what I realized is a lot of women, especially Black women, were not getting business. They're not getting customers or clients, not because their product or services weren't great. It's because they didn't know how to speak up on behalf of their business, their book, or their brand. So I realized that if you want someone to swipe that credit card, if you want them to pay that invoice, if you want them to cash app you, it starts with a conversation,
Okay.
right? So people are going to want to know, what do you do? So if you want a conversation that leads to cash, you got to be able to answer that question, what do you do? And I found that most people could not. So it was, what do you do? Oh, I'm an accountant. I'm a lawyer. I'm an author. I'm a coach. And then it would get overlooked. So I began to show them, listen, your mouth should be your number one marketing strategy. You should be using public speaking as a lead generation. So I began to work with Black women and teaching them how to advocate for their awesomeness, teaching them how to have conversations that lead to cash. And you do that by literally retiring your elevator pitch, and then you replace that with what I call a verbal business card. And a
Yes.
verbal business card is literally how you attract clients to want to work with you after just one conversation. So it really just takes your elevator pitch and it puts it on steroids, so people can't help but want to pay attention to you and want to do business with you.
So give us an example of someone that you helped and you turned their, maybe like you say, their elevator pitch
Mhm.
into a verbal business card. Give us an example
Absolutely.
of that.
So one of my clients, I talk about him all the time. His name is DJ. He kept saying that he was a photographer. Like, I'm a photographer, I take pictures. And he was getting frustrated and he felt like he was being replaced by the cell phone after we worked together. He now says, I capture the legacy of families so they have memorable photos that last a lifetime. You see the difference between, I'm a photographer versus, I don't know about you, but I want my legacy captured. I'm
Right.
sure you will want your legacy captured. So just that little play on, now people are like, "Ooh, wow, you know what? It's been a while since I had some professional pictures." You start thinking about it because it sounds so good. I had
Right.
another client of mine, her name was Jalima, and she kept saying that she was a virtual assistant. Ask her what she does on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm a virtual assistant. She now says, I create systems and structure for entrepreneurs with a big vision.
Mm.
I handle the details of their business so they can operate in their calling worry free. So I'm a
Wow.
virtual assistant versus I provide structure and system. So I take what they do and I enhance it. Right. I take it to a whole, a whole other level. So that's just two examples of how I, give messages a makeover, because my goal is to teach you how to start attracting clients and stop chasing clients. And you can do that. Every time I say I broadcast the brilliance of Black women in business, I show them how to turn conversations into cash so they can profit from public speaking. They're like, yeah, sign me up. I want more of that. Right.
Hmm.
But if I just said, oh, I'm a public speaking coach for entrepreneurs, it's not sexy enough. So I make sure that there's certain words and language that I use to get your attention and keep your attention.
I mean, that's just like outstanding because it is about the presentation.
Correct.
If you present someone where it's appealing to them, it's
Yes.
like it meets them where they are. It like you say, legacy. That word legacy speaks to individuals versus just a picture.
Mm-hmm.
So that is I mean, outstanding. Um, so you've had a great impact on women, obviously, and you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that you do serve men as well. That's a good
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing.
I do. And I serve people that are not Black as well.
Sure.
See, what people don't understand is, like, you can serve and then you can super serve.
Gotcha.
Right. So again, I tend to work with Black women because I have found that along the years, they got 2 degrees, 3 degrees, certifications, but they're still not sure of themselves. So I saw that there was a disconnect between their ability to speak up for themselves. And men and a lot of women who were not Black didn't have the same issue. So I would say, so tell me what you do. Oh, I'm just an author. I'm like, you wrote 12 books.
Wow.
You are not just an author. So I realized there was a very much an inferiority complex that
Okay.
came with Black women. And that's when I decided to say, listen, girl, you don't want to toot, but again, they've been, don't toot your horn.
Hmm.
Grandma done told them, be humble.
Yes.
Don't be too loud. You know, they need voice liberation. They need
Hmm.
someone to say, girl, speak up. And it's hard because their entire life they've been told to be quiet and silenced and muzzled. So I just saw that there was a bigger need for Black women to exercise their voice. And I called them out to say, listen, Black women, I can serve you. But I've served men, I've served white women, especially. I'm always curious when I get a white woman. I'm like, so I'm just curious because obviously I say Black women in all my marketing material. They're like, Quinn, I loved your energy. I didn't care what you could have been pink. I
Right.
was going to
Right.
work with you because your energy was amazing. Same thing with men. I say, you know, ask men, they're like, girl, you just knew what you were talking about. So it just worked itself out. Or they'll ask me, I'm a man. Do you work with me? Absolutely. Is your money green? Okay, let's go. You know, so I just saw it's almost like if you see one person in the water, one person's drowning and the one person's swimming, I'm going to save the person who's drowning.
Right. You know, it sounds like you are your own verbal business card. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I'm saying?
guess so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, because you're because as you say, even though your niche or your target audience may be Black women, but there are other audiences that's hearing the same message,
Yeah.
and they're reaching out to you for you to help them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and that's how it is with a lot of things. You know, the intended target market doesn't mean, you know, that the target market that's not in there is not going to go. I'll give you a perfect example. You heard of Timberland boots, right?
Absolutely.
Timberland boots wasn't made for Black people at all. But
Hmm.
every Black man I know under the age of 40 years old got a pair of Tims, you know,
Absolutely.
because it's like, even though it wasn't made, like, and you got to understand, like, I've never seen a white guy with some
Right.
Timberlands on. And I'm sure that that was not a part of their marketing strategy. It just so happened that this particular demographic began to, you know, go to this particular type of shoe. You
Right.
know, so it just happened that way. So I tell people all the time, don't be afraid of leaving people out. Just be afraid of super serving. I mean, super serve one people, and the people outside of that will still come.
What? Here's a question for you. What name one common myth that you would say that Black women or speakers in general have about taking the stage and getting their voice out? What's a myth that comes across your mind that you want to share?
I would say that the number one myth, and I share this all the time, is people believe that the only way that they can make money if somebody pays them up front.
Okay.
So they believe, like, okay, if I want to make money speaking, a company or corporation got to pay me. Huge myth. That's one way, not the only way. And what I teach my clients is how to profit from public speaking on their own stage.
Okay.
So looking at how can you create your own stage and still pay yourself. And a lot of people don't think like that. So they waste a lot of time, a lot of energy, you know, just going out like, okay, what company, what corporation can pay me money? And I'm like, you do know you can pay yourself. You do know that you can have your own coaching program, do a Facebook Live, host a room on Clubhouse, and then get them to come over and work with you individually. They're like, huh, yeah. So there's more than one way to use your voice and what I call skin the speaking cat.
Wow. That's awesome. So what you're saying is that you don't always have to be standing on the stage to create income. You create it through other resources, use your voice in other places to bring in income.
Yeah, I teach people like see, some people just want to speak and get paid, right?
Okay.
What I love about my model is I teach entrepreneurs and speakers how to leverage speaking in their business.
Okay.
So it's not just about you showing up and you getting a check, right? I might speak on Clubhouse for an hour.
Hmm.
My profit might not be revenue, but now I might gain 1,000 followers.
Okay.
So I teach them how to rethink what profit means. I'm getting a new follower, I'm getting a new connection, I'm building a new relationship, right? So you use speaking, and my thing is as a way to, as a lead generation, as a marketing strategy. So you might not have to pay me up front to speak. I might speak, and then on the flip side of that, my offer is for you to work with me to create your verbal business card. So the verbal business card is the sale. The verbal business card is the product, right? I'm just using my voice as a vehicle to get you to the product. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has its impact and it's working for people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a mind shift. And again, I am so, I mean, the majority of the speaking opportunities I get now, I definitely get paid up front, but I would still tell people, I say 80% of my income comes from me speaking for free, giving value, super serving my audience, and they work with me to either create a verbal business card or they work with me on my Profit from Public Speaking Accelerator. And then when people see me out here speaking and my social media, then they'll say, hey, we would like for you to speak, this, what's your fee, what's your budget? So again, speakers speak, but
Right.
again, I'm showing entrepreneurs how to leverage speaking in their business, and I'm teaching speakers how to be more entrepreneurial about their speaking business. So your message shouldn't be the only way that you make money. Like, you need to package your message in a course, in a coaching program, a VIP day. Like, take what you know and package that, and then use speaking as a marketing tool to get people to buy into your product or your program. So again, that's what makes me different from a lot of speakers. Most people want to just get up, do their keynote presentation, and leave. Where I will speak for 30 minutes, and then I could probably get, let's say, 20 people to invest in my verbal business card, which now I make more money than what the corporation would have paid me anyway.
Right. When COVID hit early 2020, it shook up the speaking industry.
Correct.
It shook up the industry. Some were impacted negatively, and then some, shifted with it and still did very, very well, even though public speaking was now virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a change that no one really anticipated. But let me ask you this: prayerfully, public speaking, going back to the stage, will come again. I mean, everybody's believing that. Maybe not this year completely, but soon. But let me ask you this: what about the speaking industry? If you could change, you would change.
I would change the fact that people are hiring people based on followers and social media cred
Okay.
versus substance.
Interesting.
And it bothers me sometimes because Dr. Walker can have a great message, but because Dr. Walker is not a real husband of Atlanta, then he
Hmm.
might not get the opportunity. So I would love for people to, especially event planners, to really select speak. And I get it, it's a business. So if I choose somebody who has a big name, who has a million followers, then that equates to they could put some more butts in the seat. But I think that sometimes our industry is watered down because people are getting people to speak because, again, they're a real housewife of something,
Hmm.
and they're bringing them into these conferences. I'm like, but they're horrible speakers, they have no substance. Where there's been somebody like me, who I'm not on anybody's TV yet,
Right.
um but my substance, my messages of substance, I have true value to add. So that's one of the things that, once you like, or TV, or you get your 15 seconds of fame or whatever, they're quick to throw you on a stage, but you don't know how to organize a speech, you don't know how to command a crowd, your content rich, your delivery poor, like, and it shows, because
Right.
all the speakers in the audience were like, who in the heck hired, like, this is horrible. But because they had a name, they're
Right.
getting the opportunity. So I just would love, if I could shift anything about the speaking industry, is to really find the speakers who have of substance and give them a platform and a stage, because they deserve it.
And I definitely agree with that. Unfortunately, that's the way life is. It gets all muddled.
Yeah.
Something good, people take advantage of it. Popular names get moved to the front of the line, whether, like you say, they're qualified or not. Somehow or another, they've established themselves, and it doesn't mean that they're the best. So I definitely agree with that. Quinn, you have inspired so many people. I mean, people see you all the time. You're always smiling. You're always uplifting people. I think you said that earlier, how someone loved your energy, so on and so forth. But let me ask you this: who inspires Quinn Conyers?
Ooh, so many people. I mean, I would definitely say from an inspirational standpoint, um, I would take it from like the high end. I mean, I love me some Michelle Obama. I mean, she is the epitome of grace. She is the epitome of like, she's just well styled. She's articulate. She got her man's back. I
Mm,
mean, like, and she's her own woman, independent of her husband, used to be the president.
right.
You know, I just love the way she is. And she's just so poised. She's just so polished, so professional. But I feel like if you call her behind closed doors, she'll go from Michelle Obama to Shelly Shell in 2 seconds. That's how I feel. Like,
Right,
I
right.
don't know, but I just feel like I just like the way she carries herself. She has style. She's the most educated first lady we've ever had. She's been attacked and she still held her head high. You know, I just feel like, you know, she's amazing. I mean, that's definitely one of my inspirations. I love me some Oprah, you
Okay.
know, as well. And then there's people, you know, they're not necessarily household names that people would know that I also like admire and I respect as well, because there are not a lot of people, especially Black women, who are in, you know, the spotlight, especially with media, who are portraying us in a good light. The majority of it's like Real Housewives or Love and Hip Hop. Like there, we don't have a lot of great representation of Black women to kind of look up to. So when I see somebody with style, grace, poise, excellence, I'm like, yeah, sign me up. That's me. I want to do that when I grow up. So those are just two people from the past. I mean, Madam CJ Walker, I'm just like, she built a multi-million dollar business with no social media. She knocked on doors in a time where it doesn't make sense. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, God's hand was all over that. Like, I'm just looking like, how do you build a business with reps?
Right,
You know,
right.
like, how do you do that? By word of mouth? Like, I mean, like with people on your back, with, I mean, society, the whole, I mean, she had a vision. She could
Hmm.
have been like, this is 19 such and such, like, you know, this is, we're segregated. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean,
Sure.
just so much. And she persevered. And I'm just like, yeah, that's amazing. So just three people that I, you know, I call mentors in my mind.
And those are three good ones. And you mentioned Michelle Obama, and I was just looking. She got a new show coming out on
Oh, does
Netflix.
she? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I did see that. I did see that. Yeah.
Uh huh. Yeah. So it's online. If you haven't heard about it yet, Michelle Obama is coming back on TV on Netflix. Sort of like a cartoon or something. Waffles and mochi or something. Some kind of series. But listen,
Okay.
whatever she does, it's going to be outstanding. We know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Quinn, I want to take the time to thank you for sharing what you do for our community, what you do for Black women. You are empowering uh all of our lives by you have taken the bull by the horn, and you've seen a need and you filled that gap. And I think that's really where success comes from. When people say, well, what am I supposed to do? How do I become successful? Find a need, fill a gap. And you said something earlier. You talked about serving.
Hmm.
When you serve, there's nothing, your greatest success will always come by serving. The
Yes.
reward comes from the serving. And if you do that, God will bless you tremendously. Uh, Give us your social media platform so we can stay in contact with you.
Absolutely. So I'm Quinn Conyers on all platforms. There's only one Quinn Conyers. I Googled myself. So anytime you see Quinn Conyers pop up, that is me. And also my movement is Speak Black Woman. So I have a Speak Black Woman room on Clubhouse, as well as if you go to speakblackwoman.com, you'll learn all about, you know, how, what I'm doing, what I have going on. But it's either Quinn Conyers or Speak Black Woman, because I just believe that if you want to be super successful in life, it's going to be on your ability to speak up on behalf of your business, your book, your brand, or even your career.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before you go, I ask all my guests to do this. Just leave us with an inspirational message.
uh, Inspirational message. I mean, we are living in a time where we have literally the world at our fingertips. We can connect with people who are in our same city, in our same state, but we can also go beyond the borders and connect with people internationally. So now is such a great time to let your voice be heard. So I would encourage you, I would empower you, I would inspire you to really become confident and comfortable with making your voice visible. You have something to say, there's a message in your belly, and pick a platform and just show up and speak. It could be Clubhouse, it could be Facebook Live, it could be Instagram Reels, it could be LinkedIn, it could be a podcast. But right now, literally, your message is connected to somebody else's liberation. If they hear you, if they listen to you, you can literally be the solution to somebody's problem, or you can be the answer to somebody's prayers. And somebody won't get what they need if you remain silent. So now is the time to speak up and speak out about whatever you're passionate about, because there's an audience, there's a customer, there's a client who desperately needs what you have to offer. So literally, by not speaking up, you are robbing them of an opportunity to literally grow and excel. So if you get anything else from what I said so far, is make sure you use your voice in every aspect of your life, because by you making your voice visible, you actually unmute somebody else.
Quinn, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. You have truly inspired us. You've motivated us, and we are all encouraged to speak up. And as the book says, your book says, because somebody is waiting
Yeah.
for to hear your voice. And God has assigned many of us to be the medicine for what ails people. But you got to get up, you got to get out there and make yourself known. So to Quinn Conyers, I want to say to you that what I say to all of my guests who come on the show: you have gone beyond the culture. And I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care. Now, if you want to continue to hear inspiring interviews like the one you heard today, I want you to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Also, rate the show and please leave a comment. I would also love it if you would share this podcast with your friends to let them know that we're on. Finally, please go to our website at www.beyondtheculturepodcast.com, or you can email me at beyondtheculturepodcast@gmail.com. On the website, you can subscribe to the show and connect with me by leaving your email address. I'd love to hear from you. This is your host, Dr. David Walker, and we'll talk again on Beyond the Culture. Take care.